Shout glory. And let's give a big amen for these young people that lead us in the ministry of music. I greet you this morning to Dr. Timothy Costin Jr., Lady Karen, and the entire Costin family, to the clergy in the house, to the Kane Memorial Bakersfield family. My wife, Dr. Marquita, the love of my life, wave your hand one more time. I greet you this morning in the joy of Jesus. Always good to be back at Kane Memorial. I want to thank you for hosting the North Region part of the LA North District on last week. Didn't get a chance to thank you, rush back over the grapevine into LA for another meeting, but wanted to thank you for hosting. Thank you for all of your kindness and the wonderful way that you do things. Such a wonderful congregation, such a wonderful church. As I have been saying, particularly to my colleagues in the other annual conference a little further down Highway 99, about an hour and 10 minutes, that I believe Kane Memorial represents African Methodism up and down Highway 99, going all the way to the area. To Reverend Costin, I smile and say, be careful what you ask for. Reverend, now Bishop, retired C. Garnett Henning, I was fussing when I was a young preacher, when they gonna move out the way so I can have, he said, Alvin, if you just do your work and prepare yourself, they can't hold you back. And I would say to you, as you have prepared extremely well, your future is bright, there won't be any doors that you can't go in as you listen to the Lord. So keep up the good work. Let's give a big round of applause for the Costin family. This pastor doing a wonderful job. Young people, excellent, excellent Youth Sunday. Amen. Excellent Youth Sunday. And I commend the people for being supportive. I always did the same thing. Fourth Sunday was Youth Sunday. Amen. Let's go to the Word this morning. I won't keep you long, but I believe there is a word from the Lord. Let's go to the Gospel of Luke, chapter 1. I'm going to go back to this one. Luke, chapter 1. I might invite you to stand in honor of the Word. Don't be concerned. Colin Kaepernick got in trouble for sitting. Amen. Trying to stand up for rights for all people. And simply we stand in honor of the Word, not anything deep theologically, but just respecting the Word. Luke chapter 1, say, Matthew, you found your place? Say, hold on if you're still looking. If you just don't want to tell me, ask your neighbor, say, can I read with you? All right, we're going to jump around a few places, and then I invite you to read the entirety of this chapter at your leisure, beginning at verse number 11. Then an angel of the Lord appeared to him, standing at the right side of the altar of incense. When Zacharias saw him, he was startled and was gripped with fear. Everybody say fear. Fear. But the angel said to him, don't be afraid, Zachariah, your prayer has been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you are to give him the name John. He will be a joy and delight to you, and many will rejoice because of his birth. For he will be great in the sight of the Lord. He is never to take wine or other fermented drink, and he will be filled with the Holy Spirit even from birth. Then jumping over to verse 18, Zechariah asked the angel, how can I be sure of this? I am an old man and my wife is well along in years. The angel answered, I'm Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God, and I've been sent to speak to you and to tell you this good news. Now you will be silent, not able to speak until the day this happens, because you did not believe my words, which will come true at their proper time. Meanwhile, the people were waiting for Zechariah and wondering why he stayed so long in the temple. When he came out, he could not speak to them. They realized he had seen a vision in the temple, for he kept making signs to them but remained unable to speak. And then all the way over to verse 57. When it was time for Elizabeth to have her baby, she gave birth to a son. Her neighbors and relatives heard that the Lord had shown her great mercy, and they shared her joy. And on the 8th day they came to circumcise the child, and they were going to name him after his father Zechariah. But his mother spoke up and said, "No, he's to be called John." They said to her, "There's no one among your relatives who has that name." Then they made signs to his father to find out what he would like to name the child. He asked for a writing tablet, and to everyone's astonishment, he wrote, "His name is John." Immediately his mouth was open and his tongue was loosed, and he began to speak, praising God. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading and hearing of his word. Dear Lord, we thank you and praise you for an opportunity to speak your word. We pray, Lord, that you would touch your people, that they be convinced, convicted, and uplifted. Please speak, Lord, for truly thy servant heareth. Amen. Amen. Please look at your neighbor and say, "Neighbor, oh neighbor, the sermon subject is, don't lose your voice. Don't lose your voice. Don't lose your voice." God in his creative genius gave each of us something called a voice. Our voice is unique for each of us, yet it can serve some common purposes. Our voice can be physical. As I look around this room, we can be excited when our babies say their first words. Last night there was a baby across the hall that I heard much of the night. Or when our babies are colicky and they cry and cry. I used to get in the car and take my child around the corner, they would be all quiet. And as soon as I stopped, our voice can be physical when in relationships, men and women who are dating or love each other like to whisper sweet nothings in each other's ear. Young people, at some point, you got to get up the courage sometimes to ask that special somebody for a date. Our voice can be influential. Sometimes it's not what we say, but how we say it. In Charlottesville, Virginia, we said something, amen, to protest the hatred and bigotry of the KKK. We're protesting our leader in the White House who seems to support groups that want to discriminate and feel that they're supreme because of the color of their skin. We used our voice to protest those that want to take away our ability to have health care. But it's amazing what we can do with our voices. We raised our voice to National Football League Commissioner Roger Goodell when Reverend Stephen Green, an AME preacher and an NAACP youth representative, led a group to protest the unemployed NFL quarterback named Colin Kaepernick, who chose to sit rather than stand for the national anthem to protest the fact that minority folk were not being treated fair. It's amazing what we can do with our voice. And so, we need to be clear that our voices are individual, our voices are collective. We even use our voices to praise and serve God. That's our voice. We teach Bible study. Sunday school, we encourage our young people. I'm talking about our God-given voice. And then sometimes we misuse and abuse our voice. Been watching a lot of Unsung, I think, on TV One, and so many of our prominent entertainers who have these great voices have abused their voices over the years using drugs and things that messed up their careers. When we fail to treat each other fairly, we abuse our voice. When we fail to live up to the Christian ethic of loving each one of us, when we don't love our brothers and sisters, when we spew venom and all manner of evil and negativity, we misuse our voice. When we don't see God as sovereign and as large and in charge, we lose our voice. Ryan and his wife Elizabeth, a blessed couple of the Lord, amen. Today in the church we would probably affectionately call them Zach and Liz. They were known for being a holy couple, close to the Lord, an example for others to emulate, a model couple. They loved to serve the Lord. Zachariah was a priest, and it was his job to manage the upkeep of the temple, to teach people the scriptures, and to direct the worship service. A fine, upstanding couple. They were leaders in the church, good examples, yet, everybody say, yet, they had a problem. They had a personal problem. They were disappointed because they had not been able to have children. And if you read the Bible, and from the setting of the sits and leave in the setting of the text, at the time of the writing of the text, it was considered to be a very bad thing that the Lord was not blessing your life if you could not have children. To complicate matters, Zachariah and Elizabeth were old, and they were up in years, or as we say politically correct now, Pastor, they were a mature couple. And so the Bible says Elizabeth was barren. And as a couple, they got to the point where they stopped even asking God to give them children. And on this particular day, Zechariah, in his role as priest in his trip to the temple in Jerusalem, he got an unexpected blessing. Zechariah was chosen to be the priest who was going to be able to enter what's called the Holy of Holies, the holy place, to offer incense to God on behalf of the people. And suddenly, much to the surprise and terror, he found himself face to face with God's angel named Gabriel. Are you with me this morning? The angel's message was too good to be true. Has God ever presented you with something that was just too good? Zechariah, your prayer has been answered. Your wife Elizabeth is going to give you a son, and you'll be able to give him the name John. He's going to be a great son, and he's going to do great things for the Lord. He'll be a leader of the people. Zechariah said, Mr. Angel, I think you made a mistake. A baby? Get out of here. I'm old and my sweetie pie Elizabeth is old. Are you sure you're not on the right road? Or do you need to go back up yonder and get some new direction? The Bible says the angel responded, I'm Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God. And when God speaks, I'm usually the first one that gets to hear it. God sent me here to give you some good news, man. But because you did not believe, because you did not believe God's promise, which will come true at the proper time, you will be silent. Your King James translation says you will be mute, silent, unable to speak until the day the promise comes true. Our first thought this morning simply is, don't lose your voice. Today, my brothers and sisters, don't lose your voice. What you mean, preacher? Zach and Liz were a great couple, a fine, upstanding folk, leaders in the church, counted among the elite of Bakersfield, leaders that came to church, but somewhere along the line, Old Zach lost his voice when God took it away because he doubted the ability of God. When you and I get to the place, no matter how fine and upstanding we may be, no matter how great a job we may have, no matter how much money we have in the bank, no matter if you live high on the hill, when we get to the place where we doubt the ability of God, sometimes we will lose our voice. Yet our voice at its best is about speaking the lordship of Jesus Christ in our lives. Our voice is about the sovereignty of God in our lives. Our voice is about a Savior in our lives. Our voice is about teaching young people the importance of having Jesus in our lives. Our voice is about being able to prepare the way in our life for those around us to know that they know a Savior who loves them. Our voice is to simply give praise and glory and honor to the Lord. But don't lose your voice. Tap your neighbor, tell them, don't lose your voice. I have to tip out before I preach now because the doctor says I have asthma. So I promised him every time I would take this little hit so that I would not lose. See, we lose our voice when we let doubt and fear and disappointment or pain or frustration or anger rule our hearts over the important things in this life. When we get into fear, when we're sick or we're going into surgery and we question God's ability to heal, when we're unemployed and looking for work and we question whether God will provide for our needs, when we question whether tithing really works and doubt that God really will open up the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing for you and me, when we are hurt, frustrated, disappointed, and we don't believe that God can get us straight, that God can work it out, when we think like this sometimes, we lose our voice. We give in to fear. We say, woe is me in this country of ours for that crazy person in the White House who pardons a racist who wants to share, amen, and supports fascism and plays up to evil and bigotry. We give in when we don't speak up, don't lose. That's right. Zechariah was supposed to know better. That's right. And after all he'd been teaching, and leading folk in the scriptures, leading folk in worship. But somehow he must have missed that verse that says nothing is impossible for God. He must have missed that verse that says with prayer all things are possible. We don't know exactly what happened to Zach, except that the people noticed that when he came out of the temple, he could not speak. He lost his voice. And they realized that he'd seen a vision, amen, but all he could do was make signs to them. Can't you see that? Trying to talk with his hand and trying to make signals, and maybe he tried to explain. And the Bible says when his time of service was over, he and his wife had to go home and chill in seclusion for 5 months. Be careful. Don't lose your voice. We can lose it, amen, when we use it improperly, when we can be heard to forsake our knowledge of God and instead voice bad attitudes, amen, and voice anger and bitterness. We can lose our voice. I know nobody at Cain does it, but I see churches where you got key members that are always bitter and always angry and always mad and always say, what can't be done, don't lose. Sometimes we allow our disappointment to overshadow God's promises for our life. We're so busy feeling sorry for ourselves that we forget that God is bigger than any setback, bigger than any heartbreak, bigger than any obstacle that we face. We forget that God is in the prayer answering business. We forget that with prayer all things are possible. The angel is busy trying to tell old Zechariah, your prayer has been answered. Trying to tell Zach the good news of the gospel. The today. Yeah. There's lots for us to fear in this world. Sometimes this could be a mean place. Jeff Sessions in the White House, and Steve Bannon and Breitbart, and the alt-wrong, amen, and folk that want swastikas and feel that they're superior, but there is good news. There is good news. Tell your neighbor, tell them there is good news. Tell your neighbor, Zach got it back. Yeah. How did Zach get it back? The Bible says in verse 57, when Elizabeth had her baby, everybody rejoiced with her. On the 8th day they came to circumcise the child, and they were going to name him after the father. It's nice to name him after the father. I got an Alan II. My wife didn't agree, amen, but it's nice to name him after the father. And there was somehow going to be another Zechariah. Elizabeth said, no, you got to name him John. And the relatives said that strange look on their faces that John, ain't no John in our family line. Elizabeth, what you been up to? And then they made hand signals to Zechariah. After all, he still could not speak, but he asked for a writing tablet. And then you saw him begin to spell something out with a J, and then with an O, and then with an H, and then with an E. Next thing the name is John. The Bible says immediately his mouth was open, and then his tongue was loose, and he began to speak, praising God. Zach got it back. Hallelujah. And when he acknowledged the blessings of the Lord, and the promise of God was fulfilled at the proper time, Zach got his voice back. He went to work. He'd been temporarily mute, terrified by the visitation of the angel of God, but now he found his voice, a prophetic voice, a God-given voice. And now Zechariah was ready to tell the world how his son John was going to go before the Lord and prepare the way. Oh, I say, don't lose your voice this morning. Don't lose it. If you do lose it, remember to believe in God, to trust in God, to let God have his way. If you lose your voice, Finally, remember this, maybe the most important thing. Somebody needs to hear your voice. Somebody needs to hear your voice. Don't get caught up in negativity and bitterness and the can't do club.
All right.
But ask yourself, what has the Lord done for you? Use your voice as you go about the daily business of life. Use your voice. Use it to praise God. Use it to tell others about God's goodness. Use it to encourage somebody. Use it to help somebody. Use your voice this morning. Tell others that with God nothing is impossible. Tell others that God is still in the miracle working business. Tell others, could be your wife, could be your husband, could be your children, could be your friends at church. Tell somebody, use your voice. Use it to be a blessing. Use it to be a blessing. Your family needs your voice. Use your voice. Jesus is on the main line. Tell him what you want. God is still in the prayer answering business. If you're sick and you want to get well, tell him what you want. When there is go forward. Use your voice. Right now, maybe there's somebody today as the choir might get ready to do something for us, that you don't know the Lord and the pardoning of your ways, that you've never uttered the words